Hi, so this is chapter 4 from A Blue Lark Sang. Eyes opening, Amelia floats along a shadowy interior and clutches at the lean but strong arms that carry her. A male servant named John walks slightly ahead and carries a lit oil lamp. "You will be the very death of me, Amelia," Wilbert says with a strange smile. Disorientated, she stares up at him. "Am I so heavy? My heart is a jolly fellow, and you weigh no more than a sparrow. No, it will be when I find you lying dead from hypothermia or worse, goddamn, in the rose garden, or by a lake or any other open space that you seem so intent on finding, to seek sleep instead of your perfectly warm, safe bed. Well then, you can let me down now. I shall walk the rest of the way up to my room. You are extremely fortunate it did not rain. Do you remember Paris, in the winter? It was snowing and you were just lying there. I am not a child, Wilbert, and you are not a young man. Please put me down before you injure yourself." Grunting, Wilbert sweeps up the grand staircase, as if he were holding nothing but air. Finally reaching her bedroom, he orders the servant to return to bed. Alone inside, he sets Amelia onto her bed and then sits beside her to catch his breath. An oil lamp burns in one corner near a half-open window. "It is a god-awful hour," he says. "It is feasting time for foxes. I dare say I found you in time." "My hero," she says affectionately. "The nights are no longer warm. There is dew and damp. You must consider your health." "I am sorry, Wilbur, but sometimes when all I can see are walls pressing in on me, and a ceiling that threatens to crush me, I flee outside and fling myself beneath the great sky. I can breathe again, and Wrexham Mansion disintegrates back into the past. Yes, my darling, we both suffer from the ghosts of our past. But when you purposefully place yourself in a vulnerable position, one in which any man can take advantage, then you must expect my stern concern. We are in the middle of nowhere. I hardly think the gamekeeper is going to proposition me under duress. Proposition, no. Rape, yes. Come now, Wilbert. It's too late in the night to talk about such dark matters. And besides, Scullo must be at least 90 years old. Even 90-year-old men have a cock and bollocks." Staring down at her hands, Amelia wants to share with Wilbert her experience at the Thames, and then thinks of Mabel alone and scared. "I have tied no rules around your ankles and wrists." "I know," she agrees quietly. "But I ask that you now promise me you will desist from your nocturnal habit." Placing a hand upon Wilbert's arm, Amelia leans her head against his shoulder and inhales deeply. There is so much darkness. "Come to me when you have nightmares," he says, and softly kisses her forehead, "like you used to when you were a child. You could banish the demons with your stories." He coughs with a little guilt. "I dare say those stories were a tad too colourful for a child. I would rather hear about prostitutes and gamblers. They were a happier reprieve to a 13-year-old who dreamt about being locked inside a windowless room with monsters and demons. I have such dreams myself, only the monsters are accountants and the demons are bankers. Besides," she continues, "it was not that long ago when I last came to your bedroom, only I discovered there was no room for me in your bed." Confused, Wilbert is not too sure he wants her to elaborate. "You asked me to make a promise, and I shall do so, and in return I want you to make me a promise." "Very well," he says dubiously. "You will be careful who you invite into your bed. The way that you have concern for me and 90-year-old bollocks," she says and smiles at the sound of the word on her tongue, "is the same that I have for you and 19-year-old bollocks. I am made of flesh. It is how I know what is in the minds of men. Alas, our minds are ruled by the flesh that hangs between our legs. You have my heart and my soul for what they are worth. Your soul belongs to you, but I happily claim your heart. As for your flesh, be careful, my beautiful Wilbert. You see too much, my little sparrow." I wish I could see more, she thinks to say, and halts the words. Where do the dead go to, she wonders, when I cannot see them any more? Perhaps they are always there and I am simply blind. Breaking the thought momentarily, she is suddenly overwhelmed with fatigue and does not resist when Wilbert tells her to get into bed. Silently obeying, she watches him walk around to the other side towards the window, which he closes before extinguishing the lamplight. Untying his dressing gown, Wilbert drapes it over a stool and then takes his slippers off with his hands, which he drops onto the rug. Wearing only the bottom half of his pyjamas, he climbs in beside her. Will he not be waiting for you? She asks, knowing the young servant John will be in Wilbert's bed. There is none more precious, he replies, and repositions himself to allow Amelia to rest her head against his chest. You still have not made your promise. What promise? Oh, that. Yes, very well. I promise I will be as vigilant as a detective against blackmail and the like. Your survival instinct is considerably weakened by young dark men. So should yours be. Let me have my dalliances, of which I again promise to proceed with extreme caution. Extreme abandon, more like. I hardly want to visit you in prison. Who is the old man and the young woman? I fear we are in the wrong bodies. Shall we swap? Smiling in the dark, Amelia sinks deeper, deeper into the safety net, and for now has no interest in men and certainly not in sex. There are simply far too many other more important issues to focus upon. Listening to her slow breath, Wilbur almost wishes Amelia would throw all her sensible cautions to the wind and have a wildly illicit affair, and then instantly retracts the thought. Frederick Chamberlain had been a safe enough sort of bet. However, Wilbur had almost hated the young American who had taken too much of Amelia's time away, and especially when he proposed marriage. Having celebrated Amelia's rejection to the offer with a double whisky, Wilbert had thereafter admitted his guilt and shame to her. I am a weak and selfish man without one jot of a chivalrous character. Do you detest me? Why, for revelling in my continued lack of wanting to be someone's wife, she told him. If I did not abhor the taste of whisky, then I would share the glass with you. His mind veers unexpectedly onto a different track. Thinking of Emily, Wilbert is taken by surprise when the vividness of her face shines in his memory. He has long given up the hope of relinquishing so many memories he would rather bury with the dead. Guilt continues to weave its web, and he remembers the night that Emily came to him for help to find Josiah. He had hated her and wished for years that she had been the one found murdered in the river instead. Forgive me, he whispers, too quiet even for the ghost to hear. Because of you, my dear friend, you brought your miracle into my life and fed life back into my veins. I sincerely wish I could bring life back to you. You know me, Emily, I'm not a man of God, but I pray you and Joe have found one another again. Is it possible, I ask? I fail to understand just what this little miracle lying here in my arms is capable of. I'm frightened, yes, frightened not just for her, but for myself too. How would I continue to live should anything happen? I have no power over the living, and I certainly have no power over the dead. Eternal death, it strikes a terrifying blow. If you can hear me, Emily, tell me, how do I protect our daughter from unfathomable dangers? Exhausted, Wilbert yawns widely, closes his eyes, and hardly realises that the past has already faded away. Thank you.